Hello, and welcome to the English Listen Lab. Today, we begin the inspiring journey of Liam, a young artist whose world was turned upside down when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in his early 20s. Unable to control his brushstrokes, he felt as if his dream of becoming a painter had slipped away. But instead of giving up, Liam discovered a new way to create art, by embracing his tremors as part of his technique. Through perseverance and innovation, he turned his greatest struggle into his signature style, revolutionizing the world of abstract painting. Let's follow Liam's incredible journey as he transforms his weakness into a masterpiece. The Shaking Brush, a painter's unstoppable spirit. Chapter 1. A Born Artist. Liam had loved painting for as long as he could remember. As a child, he would spend hours sketching the world around him. His parents' faces, the city skyline, the way light reflected off raindrops on the window. By the time he turned 20, his talent was undeniable. His professors at the Art Academy believed he had the potential to become one of the greats. His brushstrokes were precise, his eye for detail unmatched. But then, everything changed. It started with small tremors in his fingers. At first, he ignored them. He thought it was just stress, too much caffeine, or exhaustion from long nights painting. But the tremors didn't go away. They got worse. A visit to the doctor confirmed his worst fear, Parkinson's disease. How can I be an artist if I can't control my hands? He thought. His world, once so colorful and full of possibilities, suddenly felt gray and hopeless. Chapter 2. The Struggle Begins. Liam tried to continue painting as usual, but the more he struggled against his tremors, the worse they became. His once perfect lines turned jagged. His controlled brushstrokes became chaotic. One night, he attempted to paint a simple portrait. But when he looked at the canvas, he saw nothing but shaky, unsteady strokes. Frustrated, he threw his brush across the room. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered. His friends and family tried to encourage him. "Maybe you just need time to adjust," his mother said. But how do you adjust to losing the very thing that defines you? Liam stopped painting. He stopped going to his art classes. His canvas sat in the corner, gathering dust. For the first time in his life, he felt completely lost. Chapter 3. A Moment of Revelation. One evening, Liam wandered into a local art gallery, more out of habit than interest. As he walked through the exhibits, he was drawn to a section showcasing abstract art. The paintings were wild, chaotic, filled with emotion. They didn't follow any rules of traditional art, yet they felt alive. What if I don't need control? Liam thought. Inspired, he went home and picked up a brush. Instead of fighting the tremors, he let them guide his hand. He let the movements flow naturally, letting his body create without resistance. When he stepped back, he saw something completely different from anything he had ever painted before. It wasn't precise, it wasn't traditional, but it was raw, emotional, and powerful. For the first time since his diagnosis, Liam felt hope. Chapter 4. Embracing the Chaos. Liam started experimenting. Instead of seeing his tremors as a curse, he embraced them as his signature style. He began using long brushstrokes, letting the natural movement of his hands shape the art. Instead of trying to create realistic details, he focused on emotion, rhythm, and flow. His paintings became unpredictable, yet mesmerizing. They captured motion in a way no other artist could. He showed his first few pieces to his old art professor. The man studied them carefully before looking up. This is something unique, Liam. You may have lost your control, but you've found your voice." Those words changed everything. For the first time in months, Liam felt like an artist again. Chapter 5. The First Exhibition. Encouraged by his professor, Liam submitted his work to a small art exhibition. He wasn't sure how people would react. Would they see his paintings as groundbreaking, or just the work of someone who couldn't hold a brush properly? The night of the exhibition, Liam stood nervously by his paintings, watching as visitors walked by. At first, no one seemed to notice, but then a young woman stopped in front of one of his pieces. She stared at it for a long time before turning to him. "This feels alive," she said, "like it's moving even though it's still." More people gathered around. They weren't just looking at the paintings. They were feeling them. That night, Liam sold his first piece. Not because of pity, but because people saw something truly unique in his art. It was only the beginning. Chapter 6. A Newfound Confidence. Liam's first exhibition was a success. The response from visitors gave him the confidence he had been missing for so long. For the first time since his diagnosis, he felt like an artist again, but success came with its own set of challenges. As his paintings gained popularity, critics began to question his work. Some labeled his style as nothing more than shaky brushstrokes, dismissing it as an accident rather than talent. Liam knew he had to prove them wrong. Instead of letting the negativity bring him down, he pushed himself harder, experimenting with new techniques that emphasized movement and unpredictability. He wanted the world to see that his art wasn't just about his condition. It was about embracing imperfections and finding beauty in the uncontrollable. The question was, could he take his art to the next level? Chapter 7. The International Spotlight. Liam's unique art style caught the attention of an international curator who invited him to participate in a major art fair in Paris. It was an opportunity of a lifetime, but it also terrified him. Would his work be taken seriously on the world stage? When he arrived in Paris, he was surrounded by the biggest names in the art world. Their works were precise, calculated, and refined. Everything his paintings were not. Doubt crept into his mind. Had he come this far only to be exposed as a fraud? On the opening night, Liam stood near his exhibit, watching as people approached his paintings. At first, some seemed confused, but then something incredible happened. They started to feel the emotion in his work. People didn't just look at his paintings, they connected with them. By the end of the night, every single piece was sold out. Liam wasn't just an artist anymore. He was a movement. Chapter 8. The Struggles of Fame. With success came pressure. Galleries wanted more of his work. Collectors were offering enormous sums of money. But with Parkinson's progressing, painting became harder each day. His tremors worsened. He couldn't paint as quickly as before. Would he be able to keep up? Instead of giving in to fear, Liam adapted once again. He started using larger canvases, allowing his natural movements to dictate the flow of the paint. He incorporated different tools, experimenting with motion in ways no one had ever seen before. But deep inside, he struggled. The pain, the exhaustion, it was all becoming overwhelming. And then, the news came. A major museum wanted to host a solo exhibition dedicated entirely to his work. It was the greatest honor an artist could receive. But could he handle it? Chapter 9. The Breaking Point. As the exhibition deadline approached, Liam found himself trapped in a cycle of exhaustion and self-doubt. The world saw him as an unstoppable force, but inside, he felt like he was falling apart. One night, after hours of struggling with a piece, his hands failed him completely. The brush slipped, the paint splattered everywhere, and he collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered. For the first time, he considered giving up painting forever. But just as he was about to walk away from his studio, he noticed something. The unfinished painting in front of him looked more alive than anything he had ever created. It wasn't controlled, it wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that's when he realized his art was never about perfection. It was about expression. With renewed determination, Liam picked up his brush and finished what he started. Chapter 10. The Masterpiece. The night of Liam's solo exhibition arrived. Hundreds of people filled the gallery, eager to see his work. Critics, collectors, and even some of his old professors were in attendance. As Liam stood in front of his paintings, he no longer felt fear. He had spent years proving to himself that he belonged here. As the crowd gathered around his final piece, his largest, boldest, most expressive painting yet, silence fell over the room. And then applause erupted. Liam had not only defied the odds, but he had changed the way people looked at art. His work became a symbol of resilience, adaptability, and the beauty of imperfection. That night, a journalist asked him, "If you could go back and change anything, would you choose not to have Parkinson's?" Liam smiled. "No, because without it, I wouldn't be the artist I am today." Liam's story is not just about art. It's about choosing to embrace challenges instead of running from them. His paintings now hang in museums around the world, inspiring millions of people to see beauty in their own imperfections. What do you think of Liam's journey? Could you turn your greatest challenge into your biggest strength? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to follow for more inspiring stories like this.